Okay, good. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Let's start off with the agenda items. Everybody knows who's here on the meeting right now, is that correct? Okay, I'll assume so, yeah. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is to take a look at the minutes of the May 15th meeting. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to take a look at it. I want to thank Catherine for editing it for me, giving good proofing. And does anyone have a chance to look at it and see anything that needs to be added or changed?
Mark, can you put it up on screen? You know how to do that?
I think I could. Yeah, actually, I can. Well, I don't know. Oh, now you're here. Okay, let's try. Let's see what I can do. So I want to share my desktop, share screen, I think, and minutes of the. Let's see here. Let's see what this is. Let me just go back here. So, okay, here we go. And so now I'm going to try and share my screen.
I'm gonna click this.
All right, move. Please move, because I can't do it with you sitting there.
All I want to do is click.
We can hear you, John and
They're
Celeste.
laughing at me.
Okay.
Now the
No,
minutes.
only I'm laughing at you, John.
A minute.
Now the minutes are up.
Yep.
Oh, that's what you want. Okay.
So I have the minutes up here on screen.
Yep.
Do you want me to kind of scroll through them, or?
Yes, if you, yeah.
Just to kind of recap, we approved the March minutes. Mary David joined the committee, unanimously approved. We had sent, we had decided that we were going to send something to the select board, letter to the select board, which we did, which was a letter that a number of us put together that basically said, we're not asking for money, we're asking for your participation. At the time, we had no updates on the culvert repair. We did get our goose egg gathering permit. That was issued in March. And we had talked about the status of the safety plan at the beach. And how the town needs to take more serious at controlling parking, on-street parking, so that there's room for pedestrian traffic. The beach staffed by lifeguards to observe all the swimmers. And we said that the number of walk-in beachgoers should be limited to when the parking lot is full. And that's we contacted Shrewsbury Police to see if we could have a meeting with the park management, the police, and local residents. Which I tried to do, and I can talk about that when we get to this item on our agenda today. I actually attached the select board letter to the select board. Sounds good?
Good. I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Can we have a second?
Second?
Okay, good. Thank you. We have to have a vote. Anyone didn't disagree? Everyone okay with approving the minutes as written?
Yes.
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 If you want, if you see any errors and things, if you just send it to me the next couple of days, that'd be great. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing this guy. All right, and so that takes care of our first agenda item, which is approved. Second item is a new membership. Dave Green has requested to get back onto the committee. Dave was on for many, many years, and he was actually chair of the committee for when Bob Thompson ended his reign. And so, yeah, any comments from you, Dave?
Yeah, I just like to get back involved with the town committee, and this one's obviously near and dear to my heart. Stepped away for a while, things got busy with work and health issues with my parents, and joined the Franklin County Rotary. Been doing a lot with that and Relay for Life, obviously, so it took up a lot of my time, but I've got things a little bit more under control now, so I thought I'd try to add something else onto my plate that I'm passionate about.
Okay. Any comments from anybody?
Well, yes, I have a couple of concerns, and they're nothing personal about David. First of all, if I remember correctly, we do not. I mean, we can recommend members, but the members are appointed by the select board.
That's correct. We first voted on it among the committee, and then I sent it off to the select board, who gives it their blessing.
Okay, and did that happen with Mary David? Because I missed
It
that
hasn't
meeting.
yet, because as soon as once we voted on it, David mentioned he wanted to join, and so I figured I'd send both names in at the same time.
Okay. Okay. Now, the other thing is, I believe, and I couldn't find this, I don't know where it is, but I believe that there's a cap on the number of association members that can be members of this committee. And I don't know what the cap is, and I don't know how close we might be to it, since I don't know what it is, or even how many association members there are.
And I can address that.
Great.
I was concerned about that. So I'm going to share my screen again with what our tally is. So let's go back into this, since I'm so good at screen sharing now. Share a screen, and this guy here. All right, so we were supposed to have, when we originally did the charter of our membership, we included a member of the planning board, which has always been open. I don't think we ever really had one. A member from Conservation Commission, which Mary David just filled. Member from Board of Health, which is Catherine. Select Board, which is April Stein. That has to change. Let's see if I can scroll down here. And the association, the original charter said a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5. And so with John, myself, Terry, Tracy, and Dave, that would put us at our 5. There's also an open slot for additional property owners who might lend technical expertise. And Terry tends to also fill that slot. He's been very helpful with his connections and his work on at the DCR. We also have a slot for the fire chief / emergency management director, which is Walter, and the dam keeper. And those 2 slots were added 3 or 4 years ago, I think.
Right.
So so technically we're okay, but we're effectively filled up at this point. Although if we wanted, we could always add another person who has good technical expertise.
Right. We could move Terry to that other column and then have another space.
Yep.
And Mark, I just wanted to bring up, I brought it up once before, but I think we really need to address it in that this guy, Richard Brazo, so one of the slots looks to be filled on the LWAC page on the town website with this Richard Brazo, Town of Leverett rep. And I asked you about that, and you told me that you didn't know why he was on there. It's the second time that's occurred, because Paul Lyon was listed for quite some time, and he told me he'd never been on LWAC. So somehow people are getting put on the website that aren't on the committee, which
I can address that,
great.
Tracy.
Yeah.
Rich Brazo is on the committee because he was a member of, and may still be a member of, the emergency, whatever the emergency committee was for the dam. And he's a former DCR employee. He lives in Leverett. He may be on the select board or one of the other boards in Leverett. And so he was part of the emergency response team in case of a dam break. So
Right.
when LWAC expanded to incorporate the Dam Management Committee. Rich Brazo moved along with it. I don't think he's ever been invited to a meeting. He might come to one if he were, but we should follow up on that and see if he's still there, if he still considers himself a member, and if not, we should perhaps have a Leverett person, a downstream from the dam person, because of the aspect of dam management that we've taken on.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. So
No
he's
problem.
listed in the first slot on the LWEC membership.
I don't know that those slots are particularly, significant in their order.
No, I didn't think that, but I'm just saying he's listed as the first person, and it's just sort of surprising because nobody seems to know
Nobody's
what,
ever seen him.
you know? Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Who
so very
maintains
well.
that? I guess would be my question too. Who maintains that? The website, like, do you let?
I have put things on it in the past. I have access to it. The right-hand bar with all the names on it, the web committee does that. And I notice that it's full of errors. So I'll get with the web committee this week and ask them to make some changes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good, thank you, Catherine.
Right. So I move that we vote to have David Green appointed to our committee.
I'll second it.
Oh,
All in favor? All right, everybody's in favor? John, you out
Yes.
there?
Yes.
All right, Tracy?
Yes.
All right, that's a yes from Tracy, who's muted. So welcome aboard, Dave.
Thank you. I'm still considered the guest for this meeting, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
I think you're considered a guest until the select board approves you, and so that should come relatively quickly, I guess.
Yeah, they're having a meeting next week. Maybe we can get that on the agenda because it shouldn't take even a full minute.
I will send it off Monday morning or maybe late. I'll send it off on Monday.
Right. Send it to Becky because Becky sets the agenda.
Okay. Well, I'll send it to everybody just so that let's include Becky.
Okay.
Right. Good. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. So now we're up to item number 3, which is the status of our letter, the December and May letter that we sent to the select board. So far, I haven't heard anything back from the select board regarding the May 18th update that we sent. But at the time we had talked, April was participating in the meeting, and she said that they're really, really busy until after the town meeting, the annual town meeting. So maybe we'll hear something sooner. Any thoughts on what we should do or recommendations?
Maybe somebody should go, if we can get on the agenda with our recommendations, maybe somebody should go to the select board meeting and inquire about it then.
That's a possibility. Are there in-person meetings or there's still
No, Zoom meetings are continuing at least through September.
Okay.
However, they don't have to. They don't have to. So I think that next month, we would be able to meet in person.
Anybody willing to crash the party? Tracy, you're saying.
Well, I was just going to say that I think that you sent us out something this week that said, yeah, next LWAC meeting can be in person. So did you get? Did Becky tell you we could meet in person again? Is there like a rule that's been, or maybe you know?
According to Grace, that as of next week, we could technically meet in the basement or out in the back. And, I would say we can meet in the basement of the town hall.
Great.
Yeah.
So,
Town hall is reopening on June 21st.
So Catherine,
and
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you said that they're not going to start in person until September, but that they could meet next month. So you're
Zoom meetings can continue, and for most boards, they are going to continue.
gotcha. I get it.
But we are allowed to have in-person meetings as of next Monday or Monday coming.
It's a choice. All right. I'd be willing to go to the select board meeting. Somebody want to go with me? Maybe, I mean.
I'd go. I just don't want to be the only one to crash the party. You know, there's a 5-minute open session at
Right.
each.
At the
at each
beginning or
meeting.
the end?
You know, pardon?
Is it at the beginning or the end?
At the beginning. I believe I get a copy of all the agendas for the select board, and because I was kind of waiting, expecting us to be on at some point in time. And I'm not sure if it is. You know, does anyone have a feel if that's the appropriate approach?
If we have an agenda item on their agenda for Tuesday for our appointments, recommended appointments, that would be a good time too.
Okay.
That's this Tuesday?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll set something out. I never seem to be able to get on their agenda, to be honest with you, Catherine. But,
Does anybody know is there an official process for getting on the select board agenda? Just send in an email and ask, is that?
Yeah, basically you send an email to Becky because she sets the agenda, but their agendas have been so full recently that it's kind of hard to get a spot.
Right. Okay. There's only so much time.
Right. And they've been meeting much more frequently than normal just because there's so much business to do.
And just a quick question, because I mean, I feel like timing is important. So if we were to show up this week and they're so busy that, then it's hard to get back into, so I'm wondering if, I have two ideas. One, that we go with hey, we just wanted to say, here we are. We know that you're very busy. We're wondering when you see yourselves being freed up a bit where we could have this put on the agenda so that there at least, there's some faces associated with the request. Or B, we wait out. I'm guessing the solar thing is keeping it busy, and maybe does anybody know when that's going to be voted on?
No, they haven't even made a proposal yet. So there's
Right.
there's a long time
Long
to go
time. Okay.
on that. So we can't wait for that.
All right.
And it's too late. Actually, we probably can't get this appointment, now that I think of it, this appointment thing on the agenda because it's too late for the agenda unless they can do it as an additional item. And I don't know if they can because they have to post by Friday, I guess.
Well, I mean, maybe that time is good. Maybe, Mark, it would be better if we waited until next month and we could plan it a little better. So
I agree. I think that's a good idea. Instead of doing it like the 22nd, to do the follow-up one after that.
Right. How often do they meet?
Theoretically, they meet every 2 weeks, but they've been meeting just about weekly. So, it could be sooner than we think. But I think it would be a good idea for somebody to go and say publicly, we've been trying to get on your agenda. We've got some business. And when can we do that? Or because they have not been very responsive to us.
Let's wait. Let's wait till not this meeting, but the next one. I'll forward out as I get the meeting dates and times. I will send those around. I'll send it to Tracy, and we can decide which one to attend.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. All right. So I'll add that to the minutes of the meeting here. Next item is the Locks Pond. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any other discussion items on item 3? Okay, good. So next item on the agenda is an update on the Locks Pond culvert repair, and Becky did send me an update last week. It was assuming that the town approved the funding, which I think they did.
Yes.
At the annual town meeting. She sent out the scope of work to 5 companies, which she thought all would respond with proposals. So that's well underway. The target date is in September, so originally it was planned for August, but it's been changed to September, just so that it doesn't impact traffic quite so much. The company that I originally met with, called Niche Engineering, is still on the lead engineering team, and they'll stay on the project until it's completed. And so it's just a matter of getting the proposals down and getting things going, as far as I know.
She also told us at town meeting that that she got 5 bids, I think, and one of them was from a reputable company and was about $300,000 less than the other bids.
Oh, wow.
So it was embraced enthusiastically at town meeting.
Excellent.
I'm sorry. I walked away to let my dog out. Did you mention what the dates at which they're gonna start?
The proposal, right? The current plan or thought is that it would occur in September,
Oh, not August. Okay.
not August. That's correct.
Okay. And the only thing that I would say is, and maybe this information is out there and people just missed it, but there's confusion about what's going to be blocked off, like the detour. So I don't know, because, so here's my question, because I can't remember what it was, but something came out that said that it was Lake Drive and the corner of Lake Drive and Locks Pond. Is that accurate, or is it Lake View in Locks Pond? I'm trying to remember where I read
Lake
that.
View. So
Yes,
basically,
there was a typo in, I think it might have actually been the town meeting, the articles. I think it was actually there. Yeah.
so I can explain to you what the current plan was. The last time I talked with Walter about it. The plan is the road will be cut out, will be closed. Originally thought for a week, maybe 2 weeks, so that there'll be no one going, be able to go by the dam.
You can't take a left from Lakeview onto Locks Pond. Is that what you mean?
That's correct.
Right.
You can't that's correct. Yeah.
And
But
you can't,
go
you
past
can't,
the co-op. You
Right.
could go to the co-op. Okay, there was some confusion about whether like you couldn't get through there at all and you had to do Wendell no matter what you did from over our side.
You'll be able to, the detour basically will be coming down Wendell Road on the backside there, dirt road there. But that'll be limited to cars. And for trucks, they'll have to go down, down the center of town. I forgot the name of the road. I've got it written down someplace in one of the earlier minutes of the meetings here. But it's quite a ways around.
Yeah.
And
What about buses in September?
I don't know about buses. That's a good question.
Yeah. I think that's probably why they were shooting for August, but I mean, buses do go on Wendell. They must. So
yeah, they do. One comes down from the center of town and takes a right on Lakeview. They're going to have to do something else. But that's not our problem.
okay.
Good. So that's about the update. Once I'll keep. Hopefully next month, we'll have more information, and we'll go from there. Any questions or comments?
I guess I'm just not quite clear about, so we're participants in just that Walter is on LWAC and we are, it's on our,
Well,
on our purview of things we do, but all the finer details, like Catherine was just saying, is left to Becky in the town to get detour information. All that stuff is, we don't have to deal with.
that's correct.
Right, right.
We were originally involved because we made the town aware that the current culvert is severely deteriorated.
Gotcha. All right.
And so we pushed the issue along, and then Becky took it and ran with it and got funding and really did a nice job of getting it going. Okay. Let's see, next item 5 on the agenda is the Concom educational documents. Concom sent us and the association 2 documents, I think are on their website, that detail what activities around the lake need Concom's involvement. I forwarded it off to a number of people, and I think it's just something good to know about. And I'm not sure if we need to do anything else other than send them off to people who we think might be working on projects. Any comments on that? Is anything we need to do?
You sent it to the association, right?
Yeah, I sent it to Donna, the president, and George, I sent to the entire board. I sent to the president and vice president.
Seems like as much as we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at that conservation committee meeting, and that is, the focus was really very much on LWA. So everything went to Donna and the board from Conscom, and Donna agreed to send it out to membership.
Okay. So we're all set. But if you know someone who's planning a project who's not an LWA member, feel free to let them know about it.
Yeah, and we made Conscom aware of the fact that Lake Wyola Association sends things out only to their membership, and so that doesn't cover everybody around the lake. So they are going to make a decision about how they're going to get that out, whether it be via a town targeted email, or their Conscom is going to cover that.
Perfect. Catch up. Very good. Can we move on to the next item? That was item number 6, the status of the state parks safety plan. We had hoped to kind of get together a meeting with the Shrewsbury Police and park management and some of the local residents just to kind of talk about what the plan was when the park was overcrowded. I got the name of the ranger, the chief of the ranger, the DCR Rangers, which is the DCR Police Department. He referred, and he hopes that he would help set up a meeting with the park management. He had referred me to the Western Mass district manager. And I passed that information on to Sergeant Burgess, and she had already worked with the management of the park, I assume the local management, and felt that she had a good, solid plan in place. And that has to do with I think predominantly the parking situations. And I noticed there's a lot of no parking signs out now. It didn't deal with our other concerns about lifeguards, and I'm not sure what we can do about that. So that's where that stands. So it seems that there is a plan in place between Shrewsbury Police and Lake Park Management right now.
The only question that I would have is where there is still parking is on the corner of Locks Pond and Lakeview. I worked the election last weekend and happened to be working with a guy who lives at that corner. And where the bulletin board is, the sort of beat up bulletin board,
Yep.
I never really thought much about whose property that was, but apparently it's town. And there's no parking signs there. Maybe that should be put there. I don't know, maybe because that's a major parking spot. And it's probably not so nice for him anyway, because it's almost feeling like it's in his yard, but that's where people they park there, and then they park uphill of the dam keeper's spot. He's got sawhorses there now, but that's all the parking happens along there. And I don't there's some residents that put up their own no parking signs in front of their yard, but there's a long stretch there where people still can park all the way down to the corner.
I believe there are no parking signs there that have been added, Tracy.
Oh, okay, because they were there just last weekend, so maybe they've been added during the week. All right.
Well, we can check on that and we can always raise the issue with Sergeant Burgess if we think it's an issue. But I was down there a couple of days ago and I was kind of surprised by all the no parking signs. Pleasantly surprised. So it looks like there's really no place to park on Locks Pond Road anymore. It's legal. And I think you're muted, Tracy.
Oh, yeah, okay. I have a habit of just muting myself after I'm done talking. So yes, that's terrific that that's been taken care of there, because that's really the worst spot. The only other issue would be that guy who lives on the corner of Lakeview and Locks Pond who allows all the parking. But April said that they can't. I remember she told us at a meeting, like the town can't do anything about it because it's private property. So
Right.
Terry's, that's been stopped because he was having them park on town property, but they put a fence in on the town property where they're going to put the kayak launch. So he won't be able to do that anymore over there on the corner of Merrill. So in terms of the parking, it sounds like things will just be isolated down to that one guy.
Okay, so any other comments? So I think it's just a matter of seeing how things go this year, and maybe everything will be run smoothly.
I guess my only question is why are we going to go to the select board then? Like, it sounds like a lot of this has been taken care of.
The reason for the select board meeting was related to the stormwater runoff committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we're not doing, okay. I haven't had breakfast yet. Little
Okay,
brain
good.
fart there.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Anything else on that issue? Okay, good. Item 7, Elliott Park trash receptacle. Catherine was kind enough to buy a trash can and nicely chain it to a tree, and so now there's a trash can by Elliott Park. I went down and emptied the plastic bag and put a new one in on Tuesday before the trash people came, and it was actually being used. So it actually is one of those things that is effective for helping manage your trash.
Right, and it does. Excuse me. It does look better down there with the trash barrel. There's noticeably less rubbish.
I'm going to put a few extra trash bags underneath the can, inside the bottom of the can. So if anybody wants to go down there and notice if you're helping down there and notice that the barrel's full, just pull out the trash bag and put a new one in place, and toss it in with your regular trash.
Right. Yeah. Take it with you. Don't leave it out.
Thank you, Catherine. That was a great idea.
Well, it was just a matter of going and getting it and attaching it. LWEC, the water quality budget paid for it. But I think it's a really good investment.
One of those simple but effective solutions to a problem.
Right.
Any other issues or comments about Elliott Park that we should bring up?
No.
Okay. Item 8, I thought it'd be a good idea just to review what we agreed to last October regarding follow-up or investigative E. coli testing. At the time, we had on the West Beach a number of high readings. And so the thought was that we would use some of our water quality testing money, and we allocated $500 to do some additional testing around the lake or adjacent properties if we feel that if there's another high reading obtained. So the question, or any comments on that so far?
Well, so far so good. I'll just tell you that the Board of Health has received, I guess, 3 reports from the 3 association beaches, and the E. coli readings have been in the single digits.
Yeah, we usually don't get high readings. Well, we usually never get high readings, but on the few times that we do, it's always been in August.
Right. Or, yeah, and at the park sometimes after the 4th.
Okay, yeah, State Park, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but we don't get their data. And I've tried numerous times, but they just never give it to us.
I kind of like to propose someone to be the point person there, and I was going to suggest Catherine that if she gets access to the test results sooner than anybody, or at least sooner than most of us, and that upon her recommendation, we could take additional samples and let Catherine be the point person. What does everybody think of that? What does Catherine think of that?
I'm fine with that because yeah, we do get the results early. But if anybody else hears of anything or knows of anything or sees or smells anything, they should let us know.
Catherine, I have a question for you about the numbers, and this would be in relationship to the state beach, because you're posting the actual numbers, and I'm going to assume that the higher the number, the more risk you have of getting sick. So it seems to me that that would be a compelling argument with the state that, just putting up their red flag, which says no swimming. Well, it's a swimmer with a cross through it, which, to be honest, some people interpret as meaning no lifeguards.
Oh, great.
Had people say that to me, so without them report, because they still have to let people go on the beach, and if they want to go in the water, they can go. It's so it seems to me that they should have to let people know how high the E. coli level is. They've already had the beach that sign up several times this season. So they've had higher E. coli readings over there already. Twice, I'm going to say that I've noticed it. Anyway, that just seems to be fair because people should know what they're, literally like walking into.
I totally agree with you, Tracy. And believe me, for years, decades maybe, we've been trying to get this information from them. And the problem is that the state doesn't even give the results to the park personnel. They don't know.
They don't know the reading number. They
don't know the number. They get an order from the state, close the beach. Now we know that the limit is 235 colonies per whatever the unit is, and anything less than that is good. And of course, it rarely reaches that high. And when it gets high, it's rarely higher. It's rarely higher than that, but it is high, and it's been impossible to get it. Right? DCR is a bureaucratic hellhole, and trying to chase people around through it is just, and people who have the information and are willing to get it is impossible. I made a public records request for the groundwater monitoring wells data, and they said, well, here it is, and they gave me like 1 month or 1 year or something that was like only a tiny fraction of what I asked for, right? And to give the devil his due, they are really understaffed and overworked because they are the main agency that the legislature raids their budget when they fall short. So yeah, I agree with you. And if we can possibly worm it out of them, I would love to have those data.
What about, so I know two folks who formerly worked for DCR, and I don't know, but Paul Lyon, but I don't know what division he worked in. And I think Jeff Lacey did as well. I think they actually.
No, Jeff didn't work for DCR.
Maybe it was his wife that worked for DCR. Yeah. Anyway.
That's right. I think she might have.
Yeah. Maybe Paul Lyon. I could talk to Paul. I see him pretty frequently. Let me, is everybody okay with me running this by Paul and seeing if he has any ideas? And maybe it'll be he'll say, oh, I know exactly that person. Ask.
It couldn't hurt. I mean, there have been some shakeups there, so he might or might not know who it might be. But in my opinion, it couldn't hurt.
Okay. And on the subject of E. coli, I will tell you that I was told yesterday, and I actually know that I heard it. I remember it was last Tuesday morning saying, Wow, somebody's setting off fireworks at 7 in the morning. Apparently somebody's shooting the geese.
Yeah, I think that that was probably DCR. That was last Wednesday,
Oh, okay.
10 days ago, June 9th at about 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
They attempted that once before, years ago, when I was on the now defunct DCR advisory committee. John, you were on that too, remember?
Right. Yes.
They talked about it. That guy Jim, I forget his last name, who was from Lakes and Ponds, so he was a sharpshooter, and he was going to come out and shoot geese. And so, and we hemmed and hawed, and we didn't agree to it. But later on, you know, within a week or so, it happened. I heard shots, and so, and I was asleep, but not for long, and I just rolled like straight out of bed and into the park, and I found Ann Monley, and I said, Ann, we did not agree to this. And to my surprise, she called it off. But this time, of course, there is no advisory committee, and they didn't ask us. And I'm pretty sure it was the same people. Does anybody know how many birds they got? I think I saw somebody lift out 2 dead ones, and they were going after a 3rd one, but I don't know if there were more.
Is this within 5? I mean, does the shooting of these geese at least like adhere to the rules around how far from a dwelling you can be shooting a firearm? It's kind of, you know.
I think so. Isn't that a 500-foot limit? And I mean, he was
Yeah.
shooting from out in the middle of the lake.
Oh,
they're
out on a
could,
boat.
Yeah, they're out in boats. There were 2 guys out in boats, and one was shooting, and the other one I think was kind of helping to herd the geese, or trying to cut them off when they were running away. I don't know if they were molting and couldn't fly, so they were easy to pick off. I could see part of it from up here.
It just seems wrong to not let the people who live around the lake know that. I don't know. How do they know? I mean, if people are out there fishing, or I know it's early. I'm guessing they're trying to accommodate people knowing that they're probably not going to be out swimming at 7 o'clock on Wednesday morning.
Tracy, if they let people know they were going to do it, there would be protesters that would prevent them from doing it. They're doing it in secrecy.
It's intense.
Whether you agree with that or not, that's why they're doing it that way. And they go in the morning when there's less traffic.
And they make their decision based on the number of geese that are.
I have no idea how they make their decisions.
Right.
It didn't seem to me that there were that many.
Yeah, we have a lot more duck over here, but geese seem to be over here, at least, and the east side seem to be kind of normal. But I don't know, Dave, maybe you've made some observations about, I know you sometimes are out there with your binoculars. What do you think about the geese population right now?
At the time when that shooting was done, there was a large group of geese, about 15 of them, that were showing up in the morning. And I'm assuming DCR made their decision based on that size population. Yeah, I don't know how many they got, but obviously they weren't molting or anything. They were all adults, and I'm sure the majority of them flew away, which was DCR's intention. So that was my observation.
Actually, another related issue to that, not now, but next year, it would be nice if we could get some additional volunteers to go look for goose nests, or Fran usually does it, and but I've heard that some of the kids have seen goose nests up in the swamp, or I don't know what they call that, the South Cove area, and but I don't think Fran doesn't really truck back there, go back there and hunt them down, and find a nest. But we do have the permits to oil them, the eggs, and so it's a springtime project, and it would be nice somehow if we could get a group of kids or a group of people who like to walk through the woods to identify the locations of the various nests.
Maybe somebody on the open space committee. There's a lot of people walking the trails now from that committee, and they're marking trails and stuff.
The problem with that is that when the goose are actually making their nest is like March. They'll start them very early, and it's very not very no good trekking back there. It's still snow. There's frozen water, not frozen water. So it's not a fun hike when those eggs are on the nest in those back areas. You would have to be very adventurous.
Well, you know what might be good? It seems like they nest in pretty much similar places, so that if people go during pleasant hiking season and spot where the nesting sites are, then somebody could make a specific trip in the early spring to look and see if there's nesting going on. Right? We could be scoping it out during the nicer weather.
So I would, there's a couple things here. I think number one, education of lake residents to understand, like it sounds like what Dave, hey, John, could you mute just because John, can you mute for a second? Because there's a lot of noise in your background. Down bottom left. Click on it. It seems like some education for understanding why they would ultimately need to.
I got it, John.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Why would you need to shoot the geese? Because it sounds like what I'm hearing from Dave is that they get to a place where it's what needs to happen in order to keep the population down. And I guess maybe that's based on E. coli levels, keeping the E. coli levels down. And then I would be willing to talk to open space and see if there was people that it sounds like the I think it's called goose addling. Is that what the term is, to oil the egg?
Egg addling, yeah.
Egg addling? You don't add, you addle the eggs, not the geese. Okay. I would be.
They're already addled.
I know I wouldn't find it very pleasant, but it sounds like it's a necessary evil, and it
beats shooting geese.
I'm willing to hike into icky areas. I don't get too freaked out by that, but I would want to have like people who, at least to start with, somebody who knows what they're doing and show me what to do. I think I could perhaps gather some people, because I feel like the sell would be, if we don't do this, then they're coming with their guns to shoot them, and you don't like that, so let's do this. Because that's what I'm hearing you say, Mark, is that's sort of like, if we were addling the eggs, then the shooting may not be occurring.
I don't know if there's I wouldn't suggest it's a correlation between either two, because when we did addle the eggs, we were still addling, but when Grant knew the locations of several nests, he would addle those eggs. But we always had problems with geese coming down from the pond above, which was
Ames Pond.
Ames Pond, that's correct. And there's nothing we could do about that. Fran approached the owners a couple of years ago to see if we could add eggs up there, and they didn't want us to do it. So there's always geese coming in from other locations, and so addling is just one aspect of it.
So has that place been sold yet? Because Julian's dead, and there might be new owners if they've sold the place.
There is no owners, and part of it went to the Kestrel Trust. The side that you can hike on, they donated it.
Does that include Ames Pond?
Ames Pond was basically held within their private property, but most of the left side of that property, where you could already get into and hike, went to the Kestrel Land Trust. There's a little sign up there now. There's a spot to park.
Yeah, I've seen that. So I wonder who would be the person to contact. Would it be Kestrel Trust, or what did you say?
Be the property owner.
Uh-huh.
Still, that hasn't changed, and I believe I wouldn't be surprised if the group of geese that came over to the lake, a couple of weeks ago, came from over there.
Mm-hmm.
So who's Fran? Is Fran the person to speak to about how to do the geese? Would he be the person to train on how to addle the eggs?
I guess so, but really Fran really does a good job at it. But it's locating the nest. That's the question here, Tracy, is
locating the nest.
Locating the nest, and as Catherine suggested, they frequently build the same nest in the same location. So if we could solicit help from around the lake to identify the current locations of known nests, then in the springtime, Fran would just know exactly where to go.
And is it too late to look for nests? Are they?
Yeah,
do they
yeah, it is. Oh, no, you can still look for, you can still look for nests.
Yeah.
There just won't be any eggs in them at this point.
Well,
Right.
yes,
You
but-
look for nests for next year.
Look for nests for next year. And are we talking about looking over like to the area that's over near the Elliott Park? That whole is like,
Back
Dave,
there, yeah, the whole South Cove area.
South Coast. All right, let me see what I can do about getting some people to go and do that.
I don't know if she would be agreeable, but I know that Rhea walks through there a lot.
Who's, I don't know.
Rhea Windcaller.
Mm.
She lives over across the street from Julian's old place, and I know that she likes to walk around in the South Cove area, in the swamp and everything.
Can you get me some contact information on her later, Catherine?
I probably can, yeah.
Okay.
Send me an email if I forget, please.
Okay, that's good. Let's see, the next item on the agenda, is that, are we all set for the geese discussion?
Mhm.
Just so you guys know, there's, at the end of the summer, so we'll send a report to the state to say how many eggs we had, how many nests and eggs we added. And so they keep track of, for everyone they issue permits for, they keep track of how effective we were.
Oh.
Not effective, that's the wrong term, what we did. And this year we'll say we couldn't find any nests and we couldn't find any eggs.
So if I find nests, we add them up and send you that information, and you'll get it on to whoever it's supposed to get to.
I won't send it to the state in this year's report, but I'll send it to, we'll send it to Fran and people to say, this is where we want to look for next year.
So I should send it to you. Okay.
Yeah, send it to me, I'll work with it.
Okay.
All right, last item on the agenda is items that we didn't anticipate. And does anybody else have anything they want to bring up? I saw Tracy's email about the North Cove restoration this morning.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring that up because it seems like it's sort of dropped off the radar. And it was part of the annual report. So we kind of let the town know that we were going to be doing this. But the idea, I believe it was Catherine who came up with it, and I was in complete agreement about focusing more on the mitigation, the remediation efforts on upstream in moving away from, at least LWAC moving away from the North Cove part. And Catherine, do you remember we were talking about, I don't know, I think we were just sort of talking out of our theories that we don't know if there was any backup to it, but actually, no, I actually believe that Walter Tibbetts had thought it was something that was doable, and he had an idea of some sort of a system where we would be catching the silt on the other side, and then it would be like a catch basin or something, and then it would have to be cleaned out, so that we were stopping some of the silt coming in to the North Cove.
That sounds like using the part of the brook that's just above the culvert as a sort of settling pond.
Yeah, I think that's what he called it, a settling pond.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I feel like we should, at least travel down that road and see what we find as far as, is there something that we can do to at least stop continued silt? Because my understanding is that's been deemed to be the biggest culprit of the silt in the North Cove. Is that accurate? I don't know if it's.
Yeah, I believe the majority of silt in the North Cove comes through when we have exceptional rains, or we had hurricanes, and when there's a large amount of water and the beaver dams break upstream, they break, and they just had a sense of deluge of silt and water and everything into the lake, and it just settles there. It was Fred Hartwell was the person, as I recall, who was pushing the idea of creating a settling biological place to create a settling pool, so that when it did happen, it would essentially prevent stuff from coming into the lake.
Well,
It's-
basically, that area is already acting as a settling pond, but it's filled up.
Yeah, it's filled up with stuff though. It's interesting. I was reading the 319 grant from 20 years ago, and that was it listed a number of things that could be done to reduce the amount of silt coming into the lake. And they did in that grant. They mentioned that there used to be a settling pool right near the island in the North Cove, and that island was actually created. And maybe John knows if this is accurate.
Yeah.
That,
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a little island created there. Mike Skavisky dug it up. And then the Concom got after him a few years later and he had to get rid of it. It was right out where Bobby Carey's place is. It was this mound that he bulldozed up and there was a little island.
And so that 19.3 grant references that settling basin that was created, and that in fact it was now full, but it was they at that time didn't want to. It was that settling basin had filled up again. So and so it's just interesting. It sounds like a good idea to create a settling basin someplace, and ideally one that can be cleaned out relatively easily.
The problem with that I recall being discussed was if you go on the other side of the bridge, it's not too far before you're getting into Wendell.
Right.
And I don't know if they were going to try to get Wendell to agree to allow us to do that, or if it ever got that far. But there was concern about the closeness of the town line to Wendell.
So it's something that would have to be looked into just to determine if something could be done either with Wendell's approval or if it didn't cross over the line without it.
Yes. Yes.
I was over at Fisk in the parking lot a couple months ago, and there were a couple people who came out from the woods with tools, and they were. Turns out, I'm gonna get. Is that the Kestrel Land Trust that has Fisk?
No, it's the Wendell Conservation
Wendell.
Commission.
Okay, so they were over. So the beaver had done some damage where it was causing water to get diverted, and I'm guessing that these might be the people we would need to talk to, because they were over there trying to do something as much as they could, and they said what they were really going to need to do was not legal because it would require doing something with the beaver. So,
Right.
and which I think, I don't know who that would be. That must be like DCR, I guess, but no. But so the Wendell Conservation would be the people to get in touch with. In Wendell, is there any other
Actually,
connected to Fisk Pond at all?
Actually, I think, Tracy, it's a little bit of a different process.
Okay.
It would be first, we would need to hire an engineering company to develop a plan to mitigate upstream activities, and then they would have come up with a design that would say, okay, for the size of the water flow and the size, the amount of material, this is what we recommend. And kind of like the same thing with the North Cove, is to define an engineering plan to restore the North Cove to its original depths. This would be just the same sort of thing, a little bit on a smaller scale. So what we would need to do is create a scope for the engineering company, go out and get bids, and see, and they would define, how big it is, how far up, and whether Wendell was involved or not.
Yeah.
And, go on.
It seems to me that it might be a good idea to get somebody from Wendell on board from the get-go, so that it doesn't come as a surprise to them that we're taking an interest in this. And since the beaver activity that we're talking about is mainly in Wendell, up at the confluence of the two streams, even if an ultimate project only takes place in Shutesbury, I feel that it would be better to have a Wendell person involved in it, or at least informed of it, rather than get an engineering company and do a study, and the study says this work is going to have, some of this work is going to have to be done in Wendell.
Okay, so you're suggesting that we contact the Concom in Wendell and at least say, let them know what the thoughts are.
Yeah, and ask them if they would be willing to talk with us and maybe meet with us occasionally, and just be in touch about that. They may have concerns that are similar, or they may have concerns that are different. That
You know,
it would be-
I think Noreen knows about some of the people in Wendell that are involved. I walk up there with her, and I used to walk up there with her dog when the dog was alive, when I was taking care of the dog. And she's kind of told me that they take care of the trails up there, and they know where
Cool.
the trails are. Noreen might know someone on Wendell.
the trails in the Wendell Conservation Commission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trails around. There's trails around the pond, then there's trails that go off from the pond. And
Yeah, there's a lot of trails. Haven't you been back there?
yes, I've been back there many
Yeah.
times with her.
Yeah.
And I would think she might know someone in Wendell on the Concom.
She does know some Wendell people, and I think that she goes to the Wendell Library from time to time, so she might. Jennifer Wallace might also. But yeah, I mean, I think just even a cold call to the Conservation Commission in Wendell, or an email to them might get somebody interested.
And I would think that this would be a Conservation Commission issue here in Shutesbury, and that the Conservation Commission would be involved heavily.
Absolutely, they would have to permit this, and
Right.
they've said in the past they are open to a project that would restore the depth in the cove, but only if it were preceded by some kind of upstream mitigation effort, so that it didn't just happen over and over again.
Proceed.
Right.
Right. Okay. So this sounds like it makes the most sense, is to be focusing, based on what you just said, Catherine, going after the whole North Cove restoration needs to be preceded by this anyway. So that it seems like
Yeah.
logical sense to split this in half. So what do we do now?
I'm open for ideas. And I want you guys to know I'm not going to take the lead in this one. I took the lead and did a lot of work and did with the original part of it, and it went nowhere. So I will look to someone else on the committee to take the lead in this one. I'll participate from a technical point of view, but
Right. And Mary is on the Conservation Commission now, so she's not technically a member of our committee yet because it hasn't gone through the select board yet, but this might be something that Mary would be willing to like partner with somebody. So I need to be careful of taking on too much, but the the egg addling thing doesn't sound like it's huge and very time consuming. So I'd be willing, let's talk to Mary next time. I think we need to get her not involved, just because she is our Conservation Commission person now.
She does seem like the logical person, and she's not here, so we can vote to make her in charge.
I think we should. That would go over well.
Yeah, I don't think that's a great idea, Catherine.
Just kidding. But she would be the logical person, at least to reach out to Concom in Wendell and see if we can work with them.
Yeah, and maybe people on the Conservation Commission does seem to be, I think they're all new, but I think Penny's still consulting with them. I think she's kind of guiding him right now. So maybe Penny will be able to reach out, kind of help coordinate She
Oh,
probably,
yeah, she might have a connection.
Right.
That would be useful.
and she's on open space. She's the chair of open space, right? I think she is. So
I
this
forget.
sort of like all connects. All right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we just put it on the agenda, Mark, for next meeting. Talk to Mary about that.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Anything else? Do we want to know any other issues, something we need to bring up?
This isn't something that needs to be brought up, but just for your information, next Thursday, a team of volunteers is going to start the landscaping at that that kayak launch park up at the head of the lake.
Okay, I won't put that in the minutes, Catherine, unless you want me to.
No, it's just for your information.
All right, so that's the kayak launch near Bob Carey's house.
Right. And Penny is, I was just thinking of it because you mentioned her. Penny's assembled a team of volunteers. I'm not one of them this time because I'm going to be out of town, and they're having a police escort.
Okay, okay, I get it. That's an interesting observation, interesting comment.
Is that because I have to say I'm still not quite 100% clear on LWAC's role altogether with relations with the town and so forth and things like this, but I was also told yesterday, and I'm thinking maybe it was on Next Door Shutesbury, but there's a reason for the need for that police escort.
Yes.
And it's, what role should, or maybe we shouldn't play any role, but this is a problem, that a police escort would be needed, and that there might be people being harassed if they are taking out a town kayak from town property. And I guess I would equate that to what would that be like if that was happening on one of the beaches over here that are owned by LWA. It seems quite outrageous to me that is, some kind of harassment is going on, and I don't know what role, maybe the an LWA role. I don't know, but it's.
I don't think that really there's any role for us or for the association, really. It's at this point, if people are going to be harassed and threatened, it's a police matter.
I guess I was meaning in terms of taking a stand on the side of the town instead of it just being, but I'll talk to some people over here about that.
Okay, any other items? All right. Thank you all for attending on this beautiful day. And our next meeting is going to be, I think, the 17th, something like that, the 17th of July.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we can meet at the town hall. We'll see. I'm hoping Howard will join us again, or not, and then we'll see what happens.
Sounds good.
Hi, everybody.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. Bye, John.
Bye-bye.